Well, good afternoon. I'm King County Executive Dow Constantine. 2 weeks ago, I joined elected leaders from the federal, state, and local governments to declare that our region remains a welcoming community for those fleeing war and tyranny and oppression. Elected leaders from other large urban counties across the country, in red and blue states alike, have signed a declaration I wrote that sends a clear message that America's metropolitan regions stand ready to receive refugees fleeing violence, including those fleeing violence in Syria. Since then, the political rhetoric has become even more dangerous, with some elected officials threatening legal action to prevent government agencies and humanitarian organizations from helping innocent men, women, and children. Today, rather than simply talking about how this betrays our fundamental basic American values, I want to talk about actions. Actions we're taking to help our brothers and sisters in their greatest moment of need. I'm joined by representatives of our King County departments, of Harborview Medical Center, and community-based partners to inform the public on how we will work together on refugee resettlements. First, let me provide some context. King County has had an effective and coordinated resettlement process in place since 1975, when the fall of Saigon prompted Governor Evans to say that Washington State was a place that would welcome refugees from Vietnam. As of 2009, there were about 28,000 refugees in King County, after an increase of arrivals from Somalia, but before the recent influx of immigrants from Bhutan and Burma. There are about 200 Syrian-born residents living in King County today. Media interest has been focused on refugees from Syria, but they represented only a tiny fraction of the nearly 2,000 refugees expected to arrive in King County over the course of the next year. About 100 to 200 Syrian refugees are expected to be relocated in Washington State next year, with an estimated 2/3 coming to King County. Many will arrive having suffered trauma. Many will arrive having suffered torture. Most will arrive with children. Some 40% of those refugees will be under the age of 18. Some will arrive having never experienced some of the comforts that we take for granted. Many will arrive with strong educations and advanced degrees, with doctorates, ready to participate in this economy. Some will arrive having fought alongside U.S. troops in Iraq, or served as interpreters and security staff. They will all arrive here with potential to contribute, to put down roots, to succeed, to make a better life. Here, at this location, we see a kind of place where every person, including refugees, can access services that help them achieve their potential. That's why we're here today. In one location, someone can sign up for affordable health care, get a reduced fare bus pass, to get a job, or to get an education. Get basic medical care to prevent a health problem from becoming a health crisis. At our public health clinics in Seattle, King County provides direct services to refugees, including health screenings shortly after they arrive. Annette Holland, the program manager at our downtown public health clinic, will be available for interviews today. At our county hospital, the renowned Harborview Medical Center, where I was just this morning visiting, staff provides specialized care in the International Medicine Clinic, with an emphasis on services for people who have survived torture. We're joined today by Dr. Carrie Jackson, a professor at UW Medicine, who will describe the services they provide at our clinic. King County also funds refugee programs delivered by nonprofit organizations such as Lutheran Community Services Northwest, which is hosting us today. Beth Farmer, Program Director here at Lutheran, will provide you more information on the refugee services that they provide. I want to thank our King County employees, and I want to thank our community partners for everything they're doing to ensure that we deliver on our promise to be a welcoming community. It is no coincidence that our region has become more prosperous at the same time we have become more diverse. Our diversity is our strength. Let me introduce Councilmember Dave Up the Grove, who represents this council district and is a longtime champion for ensuring that everyone in our region, regardless of where they were born, has the opportunity to succeed. Councilmember Up the Grove.
Well, I have the pleasure of welcoming our county executive here to my neck of the woods in South King County, and I'm here to thank him for his leadership on this issue, and also to echo his comments about the value of the programs and services provided by King County agencies and by our partners. He's correct. Here, particularly in South King County, the most diverse part of our county, our diversity is our strength, and we're fortunate to live in a nation and a county that holds the promise of opportunity for all. And King County has a rich tradition of providing those programs and services that are welcoming and supportive of our refugee population. But even more important is that we communicate, both the executive and legislative branch, that we're going to continue to welcome refugees from around the world. And I think it's important to be clear about one thing, and it is this. The religious bigotry and racism reflected in comments by some state legislators and some presidential candidates, and in particular their anti-Muslim comments, are un-American, unwarranted, and need to be rejected. The leadership of King County has a different vision. We recognize that refugees, regardless of their religious background, regardless of where they're coming from in the world, are fleeing unimaginable circumstances. They're fleeing war, torture, death, oppression, and we value compassion. And we recognize it's important to provide leadership, even in the face of fear, to provide a pathway of hope for a better day for everyone in King County, because we are all stronger when we lift up those around us. The refugees pay taxes, they contribute to the community, and they strengthen our cultural understanding and make us better as a county. And it's important that all branches of King County government and all political leaders continue to make that point heard. It's now my pleasure to introduce Bob Johnson, who is the Executive Director of the International Rescue Committee in Seattle. Bob.
Well, first, let me thank Executive Constantine for being on the same page as our governor, which, given the number of states that resettle refugees, that's rather rare. We've had circumstances in some of our offices where city government, the county government, have been very supportive of refugee resettlement, and yet the governor of their state has issued an edict that Syrians aren't welcome. And that causes lawsuits, it causes a lot of distress. And as you've heard, the numbers of Syrians are very small. Even smaller are the ones that have arrived. We've only had 34 Syrian refugees in Washington State in a little over a year. So the hysteria is really totally unfounded. The Syrians are the highly screened group of refugees, even more than normal refugees, who are screened for a period of almost 2 years. And they go through extensive background checks. They go through fingerprinting, iris scans, all the technology that can be brought to play to determine who they are. Before that, they're screened by the United Nations, and that can take another 2 years. So by the time refugees get here, it might have been up to 4 years before they actually arrive in a country that can offer freedom and safety to them. The Syrians are fleeing terrorism, both from ISIS and all the other terrorist groups. Over 4 million Syrians have left their own country, and they're living in neighboring countries in very squalid conditions. The few that get to come to the United States are the lucky ones. less than 0.5% of all refugees are resettled in a third country. So those that are here are really here as an exceptional group. They have a lot to offer, and they're here to contribute. They're not here to take away. They're not here as terrorists. I think people need to remember that. The Syrians in the state of Washington have been here for over 100 years. Many of you have seen famous Syrian Americans on TV every night. Jerry Seinfeld, for instance, Paul Abdul, even Steve Jobs' father was Syrian. So they're not strangers to our country. They're also not strangers to Washington State. So we hope everybody in the community will welcome them and will offer them safety and sanctuary here, because that's what they're looking for. Finally, it's my pleasure to introduce Beth Farmer, who is the Director of International Counseling and Community Services for Lutheran Community Services Northwest. Beth.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me here and getting a chance to do my favorite thing, which is talk about what we do and introduce you to clients. I also thank Executive Constantine for standing with refugees and really putting facts over fear. I direct Lutheran's trauma and torture treatment program here. And in short, what we're in the business of is cleaning up after war. And over the last 9 years that I've been doing this work, I have really had the great privilege to hear a lot of stories from people. I have sat with mothers who watched their teenage son get kidnapped and then dumped on the doorstep a few days later, dead. I have met too many fathers who have been taken away in the middle of the night to be tortured by militia groups. I have met children who have gone to school only to return home and have their entire family have been killed in a massacre. And you would think that these stories would really be, that the work that I do would really be depressing, and yet it's not, because the people are so amazing that I get to work with. They come to America with a dream, to work hard, to have their children go to school, to be productive members of society. And because they have lost so much, they hold the most essential things dear, their faith and their family. I really have never met anyone more patriotic than a refugee. They know what it's like not to have a voice. They know what it's like not to have a vote. They know what it's like to live under a dictator. And because of that, they value our democracy deeply. And they remind me how lucky I am to be born in a country with these kinds of freedoms and not to take it for granted. It has been my great, great privilege and humbling experience to do this work. I'm going to let you know that I have some of our clients and staff here, some who will speak, some who will be available for interviews afterwards. I have who will speak Konaf and Ilyas Sado, who are Yazidi Kurdish refugees from northern Iraq who will get a chance to tell their story. Afterwards, available for you all as well is Abdi Hassan, who is a recent refugee from Somalia. He also worked for the United Nations Development Program for over 20 years on large-scale health projects. And he really speaks to the talents and the education and the knowledge that people bring to contribute to our community. I also have here Feline Malela, who is a leader in the Congolese community, who left a large home and a great job because of war, and then had to live in a refugee camp for 7 years with her 5 children before she got a chance to come to the United States. And now I'm going to introduce Dr. Kerry Jackson, who is a colleague on our torture treatment program, and he is the medical director of the International Medicine Clinic.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Dow Constantine, for inviting me. I'm here to speak on behalf of a team of colleagues at Harborview Medical Center who are employees of the people of King County and who do their work on a daily basis with a great deal of pride and enthusiasm. Harborview Medical Center has taken care of refugees in a formal way since 1982 in a clinic that was opened at that time at the end of the Southeast Asian Wars and the Cambodian genocide. And that clinic opened expressly to take care of refugees. And since the intervening years, it's grown in size and increased in complexity and has provided an array of services. So on an annual basis, we see a constant influx of one wave after another of refugees to Harborview, beginning with Southeast Asia on through Bosnia, Somalia, Ethiopia, more recently Congo, Bhutan, Burma, etc. So the influx of Syrians is not something new to us, nor are the numbers larger than usual. This is something we've done for years and years. The services that have evolved over the time at Harborview have grown in complexity to serve these populations. And so we have one of the largest interpreter services programs in the country in a hospital-based program. We have a complex network of navigators that both engage communities, teach house staff, and teach in the communities themselves and to help navigate complex cases through the hospital. We have growing services throughout psychiatry and oncology and renal nephrology to provide services to refugees as they come through the hospital. And I think importantly, we also teach the next generation of clinicians. As a teaching program at the University of Washington, Harborview prides itself on the educational process that we conduct in our clinics and in our hospital. At Harborview, there are over 120,000 interpreted encounters every year, and in about 85 languages. And so this is an ongoing process that happens on an annual basis at Harborview. I think that recent events and recent climate is not unlike the years following 9/11, when we've seen a certain amount of reaction in the larger community. And I think that it's clear to us that not unlike Physicians Without Borders or Physicians for Human Rights, for us to do our job to provide a safe place for medical care at Harborview, anything that would be less than egalitarian, that would not honor race, preferences in sexual orientation, preferences in faith, are not tolerable and unprofessional. They won't be accepted. And we're resolute about that and clear about that in the halls of Harborview. So with those words, I'd like to just say that the influx of Syrians is a little bit of and the furor over that is a little bit of a surprise to us, because this is just ongoing work for us on a daily basis. We appreciate the fact that it's given some attention to what we do, and we'll take advantage of that. But this is something that we do ongoing for the people of King County. Harborview is owned by the people of King County, operated by the university, and I think the people of King County should be proud of that institution and the services it provides on a daily basis. With that, I'd like to introduce the next speaker, which is Avan Mohammed. She's an Iraqi Kurd who, prior to her departure from Iraq about 2 years ago, when she was forced to leave, ran a network of empowerment programs for women across Iraq, and she's here to speak with you this morning as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like all those who made this opportunity possible, thank them enough for this space to talk. My name is Avan, and I am a Kurd from Kurdistan region of Iraq. I was born and raised there, and I hold a master's degree in modern English drama. I came as a refugee to US in October 2012 with the special immigration visa. I got that visa because of my work with several US programs and projects in Iraq, mainly in the fields of building the capacity of local provincial councils, women empowering, and conflict resolution, raising the skills and development the skills of the non-government media agencies. I would like to say that to become a refugee does not necessarily mean that you have so many options and choices to make and you just chose to be a refugee. Actually, to become a refugee, it means that you don't have a choice. When you are under threat and persecution because you are a Kurd and you are a woman and working for US government, I didn't have any choice rather than just deciding to leave, leaving everything behind my back and seeking a safer place and a better future for myself and my family. I want to say that for myself, being a refugee, it was like cutting the tree from its root, a tree which used to grow in certain set of environment, weather and soil, and trying to regrow it in entirely different environment, weather and soil. it's not easy at all, to for your heart especially, to wake up every morning and knowing that you will not be able to see and feel the care and love of your family, your friends, the people whom you spend the majority days of your life with. And also it's not easy for your heart to start to pound, to raise whenever the ring of your phone rings, because you feel that maybe something bad happened back there and they're just calling to let you know. It's not easy that at least every day I have to check with my family that they are safe for twice. When I wake up in the morning and when I go back, it will be their daytime. It's not easy at all. But with all these difficulties and challenges, we are trying to be productive, we are trying to be fruitful. And since the first day I came to US, I wanted to give back to this country that gave me a safe place and handed to me the humanitarian hand. And at once, with the first week, I started to volunteer with the Kent School District, trying to build a bridge of communication between the family of the student who just arrived to US and they don't have that kind of communication with the educational staff. And I was lucky enough after 4 months to get a job as a counselor with the International Counseling and Community Services, a program of Lutheran Community Services Northwest. And I'm working mainly with refugees and picking people who are seeking asylum, trying to help them to heal the wounds, the emotional and mental wounds that the violence and war created. It's like, treating a client mental health symptoms, because his car blown up on him and because he worked as a contract for the US Army. Or a couple that I'm going to introduce that become a refugee because the husband worked as interpreter, and just last year when the ISIS attacked main areas in north of Iraq, they lost almost half of their family, and the other half are just living a very miserable life under the very bad condition in tents, waiting for a very black future or unclear future. I would like just to leave the space for Mr. Elias Saido and Kunaf Saido to share their story being a refugee and what they are feeling right now, thinking that the door might be closed on the face of their family who are trying to reach here and be safe.
بري همي از قال سوباسيا ممثل حكومة كين كاونتي كام وقال ممنون مش شلون ما عسى قسامة بكانوا ومعاناتين ما أهلما.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank the executive of King County and for all those who make this opportunity possible to let us share our story.
بداية از 2003 حتى 2010 از شغلیم به جيش أمريكي را مترجم.
From 2003 until 2010, I worked as an interpreter with the U.S. Army in Iraq.
حياتها ما راستيا خوش بو مالا ما مزن بو حتى بستاني ما هابون تشتي ما همي هابون بس تهديدات بتلفوناش مرات ورسالة آفيتن مرة ما تهديدات مرني شمو زاروكت مرة برفيك من تقديمي هجرة كيرو وإس آي بي دان مز هاتم أمريكا أماني وحريتي ودراستي بزاروكت.
Because of the work that I was doing with the army, I was under threat. There 2 times they have tried to kidnap my children, so I didn't have a choice rather than to leaving all the good life that I have, economically good life, in order to seek a safer place for my children and myself. And I applied for the special immigration visa, and I ended up here in US.
جارجي يعني از كردستان عراقي يجديبهم يعني اوجي ديانته ماجي مختلفه ديانته اسلامي افجي سبب كاجه تربو ام كرد بنا اول شيء دولتك ام نبو ام تيدا بمينن وثاني شيء اجراتي دين جي مختلف اشبر بكجي هفتي وسجاره يعني دوله عثمانيه ومختلفه اطرافها حاولان اباده جينوسايد اباده جماعيه ملتي مربينه.
I just would like also to say that I am a Kurdish Yazidi, which is a religious minority from north of Iraq. I have not just been prosecuted and faced threat because of my work with the U.S. Also because being a minority, and that we are not non-Muslim minority. So that was another reason for me to leave the country and seek a safer place. And throughout history, we have been facing genocide, my nation, more than 73 times.
آخر جار سال 2014 3 ماه 8 يعني آیسیس هات و سر 2000 مروی کشت و 7000 8000 مرو بروجن و زارو فروختن و اغتصاب کردن و حتی نهانجی همد وندانا و مرینا و همد مقابر جماعی دنا.
The last time to mention is which started on August 3rd, 2014, when ISIS attacked our area. They have kidnapped and more than 10,000 kids, women and girls, and they have been, raped. Right now, majority are sex slaves with ISIS, and they have killed more than 5,000 men, women, and children. Excuse me.
وشخصيا دهش مالا में 3 माह 2014 माला में खातर कुश्ते.
Just my family, 10 members of my family have been killed on August 3rd, 2014.
ونهان يجي سروي كيجي دا كان عمري هفتي وبين سارة يعني مثلا شخصية بس يعني في حقيقة دا كان عمري هفتي وبين سارة براي من بين سارة كوينا وأفشار سارة ما قدمان ده هجرة مع عملاوي هش جارة دا كان شو بغداي وأربيله بو معاملة ده ميديكال تيست وهر ورا وتشتينا ونهان الخيمة دنا نقارنا يعني اهتمام بينين.
And for those who survived from my family, I have 75 years old mother and my father with his family. They have been applying for IOM to come to United States 4 years ago. Till now, they have not been approved. Right now, they are in a very miserable condition under tents in north of Iraq, and I cannot do anything for them.
سر 2 سالة يعني فايلة واني بقى أرسيا همي خلاص ويا بس مجرد هي فيزا هنا وبأز يعني سؤالها مش يعني وكش حكومته يعني إيك سالش تركا دولتها إيك سالتين يعني 4 سالن مع علمنا شبابنا دا كم هفتي بين سالة نقلم خوندي يعني 4 سالة
I just want to know what is this long process. 4 years of waiting, 8 times of security check and medical exams. They have been going to Baghdad and Erbil, where the U.S. embassies are for that purpose. Until now, they didn't hear back any from them. And there are other people who, after just applying 1 year, they come. So this is really frustrating fact for me.
وآيارتي فايلواني الدواء يعني همي خلاص يعني فجأة يعني ملتقي بلنقاد حتى أنا خارج يعني حكومة كردستان يجي إمكانيات نينن تشتينينا حرب داعش درافي وانهم يعني نمايا يعني اهتمامي ببن كهرب نينا خدمات نينن وحكومة جي فريها يجي همد سلاح أو زفستان برفا يعني قلق صار كردستان وخاصة يعني براسي حتى هنيك فرا وش منظمات الإنسانية أمريكا شو أوروبا جبه عرب دن جماعة تدخل.
So I just want to end up saying that we are hoping every day to that the IRC will just contact us saying that the family is coming, and that will be a life-changing thing for us if they will come. They don't have food, they don't have anything to survive on. So hopefully the government will not close the doors on them. And thank you very much again for this opportunity.
They don't want to speak as much.
No, they all both talked.
Okay.
It will be right now.
Okay. Did we have anyone else who want to speak? In closing, let me just say something that should be obvious to everyone here, having heard these stories, that these refugees, these people fleeing oppression, war from around the world, are our brothers and sisters. They are parents who love their children. They're children who love their parents. They're people who are desperate for help. They're not looking for anything extraordinary. What they're looking for is a hand to help them out of imminent peril. We heard about the children kidnapped and sold into sex slavery. We heard about losing scores of family members in one day. Imagine if that was happening to us here. Imagine if that was happening to us here and people around the world were saying, that's your problem. We would want and expect people to express their humanity, to reach out and welcome us. And so we here in King County reiterate that we are committed to the basic American values, that this is a land for all, regardless of origin, regardless of religion, and that we are a place that welcomes refugees to a better life. I want to thank you, and any of us would be available to answer your questions.
Can we just get a couple of spellings for first and last names, ma'am, specifically yours?
Okay, so the first name will be A-V-A-N, and the last name Mohammed, M-O-H-A-M-M-E-D.
And our staff can provide you with a list with the correct spellings. So folks are available for individual interviews, and I would encourage you to explore a little more the stories of these folks who have come to us from around the world and some of the folks who are here trying to provide help every single day to people fleeing their homelands. Thank you so much for being here today.